There's a story about Mel Gibson and Rosalind Ross that almost nobody knows. And it explains the real reason they kept their sudden separation completely hidden from the public for over a year. I'm Alex, and here's what actually happened, because the version you read in the headlines, it's missing the part that changes everything. Now, if you follow Hollywood relationships, you know Mel Gibson and screenwriting champion Rosalind Ross had been building a quiet, 9-year life together in Malibu with their young son Lars. While the tabloid media constantly fixated on their 34-year age gap, the couple always presented a united, unflappable front to the world. But here's what nobody's asking. Why did two people who survived public scrutiny, massive career reinventions, and intense family dynamics quietly call it quits behind closed doors, while still living under the exact same roof? Now, this part isn't confirmed, but according to my analysis of how high-profile Hollywood couples handle high-stakes splits, there is usually a triggering financial or personal shift before a public statement ever drops. From what we've noticed across recent timeline breakdowns, the separation actually happened long before the press found out. Hang on, watch this part closely. Look at the public appearances right before the announcement dropped. They were walking red carpets and raising their 9-year-old son side by side, totally seamlessly. But behind the scenes, the legal and domestic arrangements were already completely restructured. And that's when it gets weird. Because while the official joint statement talked about a mutual, loving transition into a platonic bond, for the sake of co-parenting, insiders know that Hollywood splits rarely happen in a vacuum. Wait, this is where the story breaks. What was the actual catalyst that ended a 9-year relationship right when Mel Gibson was stepping back into the director's chair for his massive multi-million-dollar film projects? Why did they keep the breakdown hidden until after a major natural disaster swept through their private life? In my view, based on what we've noticed in recent production schedules and private estate moves, this wasn't just a sudden fallout. This is my speculation based on public timelines and Hollywood estate patterns, not a confirmed fact, but the pattern is there if you look. Now here's the part they don't want you to see. This is the detail everyone missed. To understand why this separation hit the industry like a flashbang, you have to look at the massive pressure cooker surrounding Mel's personal brand, his estate, and the wild events that hit their Malibu compound. Stay with me, this is the good part. Most people assume that when a veteran movie icon and a younger partner split, it's always about the age gap or lifestyle clashes. I suspect the real split wasn't caused by personality clashes at all. It came from a dramatic shift in how both of them wanted to live the next decade of their lives once the dust cleared. So here's the truth about the sudden separation between Mel Gibson and Rosalind Ross. It was never about sudden tabloid drama or an explosive fallout. It was about a total, quiet shift in lifestyle priorities that had been building behind the scenes for months. And that's why they were able to pull off a year-long secret breakup without a single leak to the press. You're not gonna believe what happens next. As the couple worked out the terms of their private separation, an unforeseen event completely rocked their world. Devastating wildfires tore through California, turning their family home in Malibu into cinders while Mel was out of town working. I could be wrong here, this is speculation, but everything I'm seeing in the timeline points to a moment where losing their physical estate forced both of them to accelerate their independent lives much faster than planned. And this is where it gets personal. Imagine losing your home, your personal history, and your physical belongings, all while quietly navigating the end of a 9-year romantic partnership. People look at celebrity breakups and assume it's just about dividing lawyers and bank accounts. But in that moment, faced with total destruction of their property, the focus shifted purely to family survival and keeping their young son, Lars, completely protected from media noise. But here's what nobody's asking. How did Mel Gibson, a director known for high-intensity, demanding film sets, and Rosalind Ross, an accomplished equestrian and screenwriter, manage to rebuild their lives in completely different directions without burning down their personal relationship? Wait, this is where the story gets really strange. But just when you think you understand the Gibson household dynamic, the perspective flips. Because the people closest to him say that Mel's past relationships, which were plagued by extremely messy, public court battles, taught him a brutal lesson about Hollywood divorces and breakups. Now here's the part they don't want you to see. There is a stark contrast in how Mel handled his past high-profile split with Oksana Grigorieva versus how he and Rosalind orchestrated this transition. This time, there were no press leaks, no aggressive courtroom allegations, and no public mudslinging. Instead, they executed a completely controlled, joint statement designed to freeze out tabloid speculation before it could even start. Hang on, watch this part closely. If you look at the timeline of his career moves, including stepping into directing massive blockbusters like The Resurrection of the Christ and reviving major action franchises, the timing of this private reset is precise. According to my analysis of Mel Gibson's career pattern, whenever he prepares for an intense, multi-year directing schedule, he clears out personal turbulence to ensure zero distractions on set. And that's when it gets weird. Because if you look past the standard, "we remain best friends" press release, you realize there's an even deeper question. Is this quiet separation a sign of a completely changed Mel Gibson, or is it a calculated tactical move to protect his final legacy? Stay with me, this is the pivot. We have to look at the massive shift in how the industry views him now, because if you think this was just a simple breakup, you're missing the bigger strategic picture. And now you know the whole story. My take. The separation between Mel Gibson and Rosalind Ross isn't a tragic celebrity disaster, it's a masterclass in modern Hollywood damage control and mature co-parenting. People look at Mel Gibson and see a volatile, larger-than-life figure haunted by his past controversies. But if you look closer at how this 9-year chapter ended, you see a man who went to extreme lengths to protect his youngest child from the media circus that defined his previous relationships. Quick note. A lot of this is based on my analysis and the patterns we've picked up on across public statements, production schedules, and real estate shifts, not confirmed internal legal documents. Take it as informed speculation, not fact. But when you line up the evidence, the hidden 1-year timeline, the shared statement, and the complete absence of court drama, it's hard to ignore. The evidence suggests that Rosalind Ross provided a steadying, grounding force for Mel during a decade where he pulled off one of the most unlikely career comebacks in cinema history. But as their individual chapters evolved, they chose to transition into a co-parenting partnership rather than let the stress of a failing romance bleed into their work or their son's life. This is the detail everyone missed. They didn't break up when the news dropped, they broke up a year prior, survived a literal fire together, and stepped onto red carpets as a united family unit long after the romance had ended. That level of privacy in modern Hollywood is almost impossible to pull off. So the question I keep asking is, in an era where celebrity breakups are usually weaponized for social media views and tabloid deals, did Mel Gibson and Rosalind Ross set the new standard for how modern stars should handle a split? Or was keeping it secret for an entire year a move to protect his upcoming Hollywood directing deals? What do you think? Did they handle this the right way, or are you surprised they managed to hide it for so long? Drop your take in the comments, I read every single one. And if you want the next story, subscribe, because the one coming next, it's even bigger. We're breaking down the hidden legal clauses behind Hollywood's biggest secret breakups, and you're not going to want to miss that.